should do it more.
I'm here today with Ben Brown. Ben, how are you doing today?
Great, David. Great day to be on Maui. Great day to be on the island here.
I appreciate you stopping by and coming to be on the show. So tell me a little bit about what you do. Who's Ben Brown?
Well, I'm actually just a long-haired haole living on Maui. I'd retired in 2000, and I've been so busy ever since. I don't know how I ever had time to work before. So I've stayed busy here. I started coming to Maui in 1997 and bought a home here in the year 2000. And Maui has become my spiritual center. I still have a little ranch in Montana that I go back to when the weather is decent, which is 8 months of the year, but I'm always coming back to Maui. My children love Maui. They've been here for the last 10 years with me, and Maui is home too.
So you say you have another home?
Yeah, I have a small ranch outside of Billings, Montana. And right now we're raising goats and grandchildren and chickens. And I used to run cattle, but when I started coming to Maui for the winter, the cattle weren't profitable because somebody has to feed them and thaw the water. So my ranch is just for Tennessee Walker horses and goats and chickens.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Tennessee Walker horses, those are nice cart-pulling horses.
They're huge horses. They're a gaited horse, so they're hard for other horses to work. My horses are mountain trail horses. They're used to hunting, they're used to the mountain trails, but when other horses are on the trail with them, they can't keep up because the Walker is such a gaited horse. I'm not a horseman. I do have people that work with me and help me with the horses, but I'm still at 68 learning about horses, learning about this. I've lived on this ranch for 20 years, and I'm kind of a city slicker, gentleman rancher. More than that, though, Maui is the place where I come to spiritually relax and take it easy. When I'm here, it's just serene and easy, and now it's about time for me to go back to Montana, and I'm really conflicted by that. I hate to leave Maui, but I love to get back to Montana in the spring.
So what do you enjoy most about Maui?
Well, Maui and the people here and the laid-back nature are the main thing. That I think that people are very accepting of outsiders, which I am. I mean, I'm a kind of a cowboy, completely different culturally than the islanders, and yet I'm so accepted. I think the gray hair helps. Hawaiians are very respectful of elders, and then probably the one advantage of being old is that people give you a lot of grace.
So where do you hang your hat at? Do you hang your hat on North Shore, West Shore, South Shore?
I have a home in Wailea, and every time I go to Kula to visit friends, I think I'd like to live up here, but then it gets cold. It gets down in the 40s at night, and I actually love to live on the beach. I love to be at the beach. I love the whole atmosphere of the beach and the palm trees and the surf and the water. I like to get in the ocean constantly. The ocean is very renewing for me. I got to Maui by kind of in the back door. I used to travel to Hawaii and stay in Oahu, and I got so I couldn't stand to be there anymore. It's so much like Los Angeles or Miami. And one winter I was with my wife, and we were in Mexico, and I didn't like the water, I didn't like the poverty, I didn't like the disorganization. I called my travel agent and said, I'd like to go someplace with warm water and get out of this. She suggested Hawaii, and I said, you know, I'm over Hawaii. And she said, have you ever been to Maui? And I said, no. And she said, then you haven't really been to Hawaii yet.
So what makes Maui the interesting place?
The thing I love about Maui is it has everything. It has the Paneolas, which I'm familiar with because we've got cowboys all over Montana. We've got the prairies and the barbed wire fence and the cactus out on the east end. And yet in the Ao Valley, we've got 400 inches of rain. I love that. I mean, that's such an abundant rain because I come from a very dry state. In Montana, we're lucky to get 15 inches a year. I love the year-round beauty of Maui. The thing I really like about it is that the population is about the same as my town in Montana. About the same general population, and I've been here long enough. I know a lot of people on Maui. I feel very comfortable. I run into friends wherever I go on Maui.
What made you decide to buy a home on Maui?
Well, that was an easy decision for me. I had contracted cancer. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was at stage 4 by the time we started treatment. And I promised myself if I lived through it, I would buy a home in Maui and stop working, stop the stress, and retire and take it easy. And I did live through it. I've been cancer-free for 8 years, and when I moved to Maui with that home, it was kind of like a gift of borrowed time. So every year that I have now, every day that I have now is a gift. And at the time I bought the house in Maui, I knew that I had survived cancer. And it's like dying and I mean, going to heaven and not having to die. So I come to Maui, I relax here. My children, this is a great attraction. I have 6 children and they love to come visit me in Maui. I've really established roots here too, because I did start a business 8 years ago with my sons. And we've got a small pawn shop on Hukiliki in Kahului. And then 5.5 years ago, a good friend of mine, Dr. James Hansen, drew me into a project that has consumed me for the last 5.5 years. We're in the process of building a modern medical facility on Maui to attract new doctors, to give the doctors who are already here a modern place to practice, give them more space, more parking. And I purchased land in central Maui, just off Hana Highway, and we're in the process now of building this building where we can draw all the doctors that are in the Maui Medical Plaza, Maui Medical Center on Pu'uneni, which is going to be leveled. All the doctors there are coming into our facility, and we're bringing doctors off the mainland, doctors who are spread out in small shopping centers and strip malls are coming together in a synergistic location where they can practice together in a brand new building with all kinds of modern electronic facilities, completely updated. It's going to be a shining sanctuary for humans on Hana Highway. It's a beautiful building. We've had it designed. We're prepared on the 12th of May to go to the Planning Commission. We've been working over 4 years to design a building that fits into the community and yet answers the need for space that these doctors have. It's been very exciting to me. I got talked into this 4 years ago, and we thought at the time it'd take about 2 years to get it done. If I'd known it'd take 4 years, I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm 68 years old. I don't do long-term planning now. I'm trying to relax, but I'm so excited about this, and I think someday, long after I'm gone, my children can drive by this beautiful facility and the people can say there is a beautiful human sanctuary that was bought by an old broken down pawnbroker from Montana. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what we're designing. I've really enjoyed working with the engineers, architects, consultants, county officials, politicians in Maui. It's drawn me into the community in such a way that I feel like this is my community and I'm a part of it and doing something for the community.
Thank you for doing it. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to the interview?
Just to say that I'm at a wonderful journey of life. I was telling you earlier how I feel bulletproof. Having survived cancer, having lived to be 68 years old and still in good health, I have great stamina, I have good income, I have a wealth that I'm going to pass on to my children, I have a legacy that I think we're going to build for the community here in Maui. I feel great about the way things have. I'm an old journalist that became a pawnbroker 30 years ago, following a hobby. A friend of mine was a gunsmith, and he said, you ought to open a pawn shop. And we opened a pawn shop. We like to think a holistic pawn shop where we treat people in a decent way. One of the first things that we said when we started, my brother and I, is that we will never treat anybody as though they're desperate. And the other thing that we said, we'll never give in to any of the temptations that pawnbrokers sometimes do to take stolen or questionable items. And for 30 years, we've opened over 20 stores on the mainland and one in Maui. And that's been an exciting thing. Not something I planned, but something that really worked out well. It's made me wealthy, it's made my children wealthy. When I had the cancer and when I decided to moved to Maui, I turned over all of my real estate, all my commercial real estate, and my businesses to my children. So all 6 of my children are very wealthy now.
So tell me a little bit about your journalism. What was that like?
Well, I got into journalism because I wanted to write. And I thought, what a better way to learn. And I got into journalism, went to college for journalism, was the editor of the paper at Montana State University in Billings, Montana. I had a scholarship, actually had a salary. It was a great way to go because I didn't have a lot of money. And got involved in journalism and began working for the local paper, the Billings Gazette. There, because of a transition of staff, I advanced really rapidly for a young guy with very little education, very little training, and went from police court and crimes reporter to political reporter. And while political reporter, I got involved with a young city attorney who was elected to Congress. In 1965, he and I went to Washington, D.C., he as a congressman and me as his administrative assistant. The transition from that was very exciting. He was appointed federal judge in 1968, and I entered the Nixon White House at that time and worked in the Nixon White House until Nixon resigned in '74. I was the deputy undersecretary in the Labor Department. I'd worked in the Treasury Department. For a period of time, I was the congressional administrator for the Federal Railroad Administration. These jobs were exciting and wonderful, and I felt meaningful, but it also provided me with a way. I traveled all over the world during that time. So I've been everywhere in the world. My favorite places right now are that little ranch in Montana and this place on the Wailea shore.
Well, Ben, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, David, for doing this.
I appreciate you having.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you having to have accepted my invitation to come on to the show. And I'd like to say thank you for Maui, too.
It's a great opportunity. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed talking with you about it.
Thank you.
Thanks again. I'll come back anytime you want me.
All right. Aloha.